criticism went a little bit farther too, because this was a blizzard. It wasn't like the media was trying to fill a black hole at this point. This became a very major story. Criticism not only from other politicians, but people that we spoke to as they were trying to dig out that, you know, especially after the Lieutenant Governor's story came out, why she was gone, that the governor at least at some point should have made a decision to, you know, let his family stay there and come back and kind of take
I could have gotten back if I wanted to. I had a reservation to come back last night. My flight last night was delayed 6.5 hours. I landed in New York this morning at 5:30. I was supposed to land last night at 11:30. There was no way for me to get back through, you know, commercial aviation. And unlike other states, the governor doesn't have a state plane here. So, you know, the only way for me to get back was commercial aviation. There was no way for me to get back. And candidly, I have to tell you, I would have been doing the same thing here as I was there. I would have been in a room someplace. I would not have been out like driving a plow. Okay? I would have been in a room someplace on a telephone saying, what's going on? What do you need? Why is this happening or why isn't this happening? And that's exactly the same thing I was doing in Florida. So I understand, listen, by me talking about filling the time, I was talking about the blizzard filling the time. I'm talking about this whole idea of the governor being out of the state being a major story. That's the filler I'm talking about. The storm is obviously a major, major story and one that needed to be covered extensively. So that's not where my criticism is. It's not even criticism, really. It's an observation that, you know, this is a fun thing. You get Ray Lesniak sending an email criticizing me for being from Florida. You know, at that point, I would think that you guys should kind of go, well, maybe that criticism isn't exactly, you know, if I lived in Elizabeth, I'd be looking for a refund on his salary because he spends more time in Paris, France, than he does in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And this guy's criticizing me? Like, are you kidding? I mean, please. So, you know, what I'm talking about is it was clearly a partisan thing. And so I'm not going to respond to that stuff. I know what my responsibility is. And I was acquitting my responsibility to the state through the actions that I was taking. And I'll also tell you, though, I know my responsibility as a father. And I have 4 children between 7 and 17 who I promised I was taking to Disney World. Now, here were my alternatives. Send my wife to Disney World with my 4 kids by herself. Oh, that would be an interesting move. I would then be divorced. No, you know, I wanted to be there with my kids. We had a long, arduous year. I loved every minute of it, but I was at work a lot. And my kids were really looking forward to having this vacation with me, and I was looking forward to having it with them. And I had promised it to them. And I don't break promises lightly to anybody, and especially not to my children. So, you know, and even if I decided that I wanted to come back, there would have been no way for me to get there. I was afraid I was going to get back today. We sat in the airport. We took off from Orlando last night at 3:10 a.m. We sat in the airport last night from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the morning with 4 kids. It was fun. So, you know, this is just the nature of what's happened with air travel, given the intensity of the storm. It's hard to get any place right now because of what's happened. So I understand, listen, and it's easy. It's easy for folks when they're frustrated and they're angry to be critical in that way. So I don't take it personally. I really don't.
Did you have a conversation with your wife about what you should do?
A short one. I got off of one of the conference calls on Christmas night. We were at my brother's Christmas night. And I got off of one of the conference calls that the colonel was running, and it became clear to me that things were starting to look like they were going to get worse. As I said before, the forecast kind of changed, and it looked like things were going to get worse. I came back to the dining room table, and I said to her, she said, how'd it go? I said, well, it looks like things are going to get a little bit worse. And, you know, we'll be married 25 years in March. So a lot of our communication is nonverbal. She just looked at me and she said, I know that look, and don't you think about it. Don't you think about not getting on that airplane with those children. Don't you think about it.
And that was Sunday morning?
It was fairly, no, that was at dinner Saturday.
No, that was, you left Sunday morning.
Sunday morning at 9 o'clock.
Sunday morning is when you left.
Sunday morning at 9 o'clock.
And you didn't like walk into the airport like going.
Of course I did. Of course I did. But you know, life is about choosing and about decisions. I made the decision to be a father first. Because I knew that I had plans for this. I knew that I had extraordinarily competent people who were going to be on the ground here, and I knew that I had a cell phone with me, that I could be talking to people and they could be talking to me at any time that they needed to speak to me, and they did so frequently. And so, you know, of course it goes through your mind, should I? My wife could tell when I got back to the table, like, don't you think about it? And she's right, you know, now that I've gone through the 5 days, despite the criticism from the corners I've gotten it, I wouldn't change the decision even if I could do it right now. Because I had a great 5 days with my children. I promised them that. They deserved it. There's got to be time where I'm being a father first. And that's what this was. And it was something that they've been looking forward to for months. So I wasn't going to disappoint them. So even if I had the chance to redo it, I wouldn't. Because you also look at the results. The results are that we did a very good job here. Not a perfect job, but a very good job here for the people of the state. I'm proud of what my administration was able to do. And I think it also tells you the quality of the people that we have in the cabinet and the senior staff level who are able to take this over. And lastly, the quality of the relationship that I have with Senator Sweeney. And, you know, I trusted him to leave. This is a guy who's dealt with this stuff before. He was a freeholder director for 14 years. They've had all kinds of disasters they've had to deal with in Gloucester County that are weather related. And you know, the freeholders here will tell you that the freeholder director is the person along with the county administrator who's got to be in charge of making decisions like that. I knew Steve Sweeney could do this, and he did it extraordinarily well, and he did it in a completely nonpartisan way. Every decision that was made, we made together. This is, I would say, this is what I think should happen. He would have his input, senior staff would brief us, cabinet would brief us. I'd say, this is what I would do. He's like, yeah, you know, that sounds good. Or he'd say, this is what I think we should do. I'd say, that sounds good. Steve, fine. So this was all done, you know, the whole Succession Act thing, I read someone comment on this, it's really kind of an antiquated thing given how you can communicate now. I mean, the idea of a government leaving a state and like you'll be completely out of touch and so someone else has to be there to make the decisions. I mean, anybody can get me any minute of any day, given the way we communicate now. You know, whether it's by cell phone or text message or Twitter, for God's sake. So,